Have you ever noticed the quiet, sinking feeling that washes over you when you see someone else living the life you thought you were supposed to have by now? What if the heavy exhaustion you feel is not because you are failing, but because you are carrying an invisible clock that was never meant for your journey? If you have ever felt like you missed your chance, like everyone else is miles ahead while you are still trying to find the starting line, this is for you. Stay until the end, because the final lesson may change the way you see your own quiet life forever. There is a deep, agonizing pain in believing you are out of time. You look around and see people your age, or even younger, reaching milestones you can only dream of. They started earlier, they moved faster, they seemed to know exactly what they wanted while you were still figuring out who you were. And in the silence of your own mind, a cruel voice whispers, "You are too late. You missed your chance." This thought creates a heavy burden. It turns every single day into a desperate game of catch-up. It makes you feel invisible, left behind on a platform while everyone else's train speeds away toward greatness. But here is the truth few people want to face. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that much of our suffering does not come from our current reality. It comes from our attachment to an illusion. We suffer because we fiercely hold on to a fabricated timeline of how life was supposed to unfold. In Buddhist thought, to compare your journey to another is to deny your own reality. It is a rejection of the present moment. Imagine a great forest. In this forest, a small fern uncurls its bright green leaves in a matter of weeks, quickly catching the sunlight and drawing the eyes of anyone who walks by. Nearby, a bamboo seed remains completely invisible above the soil. For years, it does nothing but grow its roots deep into the dark, quiet earth. If the bamboo were to compare itself to the fern, it would feel like a profound failure. It would believe it had missed its chance to grow. But the bamboo is not failing. It is preparing. When the time is right, it will shoot up into the sky, anchored by the unseen, quiet work it did in the dark. We forget this in our own modern lives. You scroll through your phone and see the loud, visible successes of others. You see the ferns uncurling in the sun. You see the rapid career growth, the sudden achievements, the lives that seem perfectly timed. And you punish yourself for still being underground. But you do not know the nature of their soil, just as they do not know the depth of your roots. Think about your own life. Whose race are you actually running? Who told you that you had to arrive at a certain destination by a specific age? What are you afraid will happen if you simply let go of this imaginary finish line? Pause. Breathe. When the panic of feeling left behind rises in your chest, do not fight it. Observe the thought without following it. Let the feeling rise without making it your identity. Stop trying to force the door open. Let the feeling of being late pass over you, like a cloud drifting across a vast sky. You are the sky. The timeline is just a cloud, because peace is not found by running faster to catch up with someone else. Peace is found when you realize the track you are running on is an illusion. But letting go of this heavy, artificial timeline is only the first step, because beneath the fear of being too late is a habit that quietly steals our joy every single day. And this is where the next truth begins. 2. Comparison as the thief of presence. What if the life you have right now is already whole, but you cannot see it because you are too busy staring at someone else's? Here is a painful truth we rarely admit. The deepest suffering of feeling left behind does not come from your actual circumstances. It comes from the relentless habit of looking sideways. You see a colleague promoted faster. You see a friend from your past living an adventurous, loud life. You see strangers on a screen holding the trophies you thought you wanted. And in that fraction of a second, your own life suddenly feels incredibly small. You start replaying your past. You dissect your choices. You wonder where you took the wrong turn, convinced that if you had just started earlier, tried harder, or been a little luckier, you would be standing where they are. You begin to believe that their presence in the light means you are stuck in the shadows. But Buddhism reminds us that much of our pain is born from this exact delusion. When you compare your life to another, you are not comparing truth to truth. You are comparing your messy, complex internal reality to someone else's carefully constructed external image. You are abandoning the present moment to live in a fantasy of what should have been. Imagine a river flowing gently through a quiet green valley. This river is calm. It provides water to the roots of ancient trees. It slowly shapes the stones along its banks. It beautifully reflects the soft morning light. But what if this river spent all its energy wishing it were a crashing, roaring waterfall on a distant, towering mountain? If it only focused on the waterfall, the river would completely miss the beauty of its own calm waters. It would fail to see the life it is nurturing right where it is. It would believe its quiet flow was a failure, simply because it was not loud. We do this to ourselves every single day. You sit in your quiet room. You have safety. You have breath. You have small, simple moments of grace. But your mind is tormented because someone you once knew just announced a massive milestone to the world. In that exact moment, your peace is stolen. The theft was not committed by them, nor by their success. The theft was committed by your own mind, pulling you out of your reality and forcing you into a race you never agreed to run. Ask yourself, when you look at someone else's path, what are you actually seeing? Are you seeing their hidden struggles, their quiet doubts, their sleepless nights? Or are you only seeing the polished surface they allow the world to see? Is this comparison bringing you peace, or is it only feeding your fear? Pause. Breathe. The next time you feel the sharp sting of comparison, gently call your energy back. Look at your hands. Look at the space around you. Pull your attention away from the lives of others and anchor it deeply into your own breathing. You do not have to chase what is happening somewhere else, because the more you focus on the life you do not have, the more you starve the life you are actually living. But releasing the habit of comparison is difficult when you still believe the clock is ticking against you. And this brings us to the next truth. 3. The myth of being too late. What if the feeling that you are out of time is an entirely made-up story? Here is a heavy burden many of us quietly carry. We believe that life has a strict expiration date on purpose, joy, and new beginnings. You feel the sharp sting of regret when you realize how much time has passed. You think about the years you spent wandering, making mistakes, or simply trying to survive, while others were steadily building their empires. You look at your age, your current circumstances, and a cold dread settles deep in your chest. The doors have closed, you tell yourself. The window of opportunity is permanently gone. You believe that because you did not plant the seeds yesterday, the soil of your life is barren today. But Buddhist wisdom teaches us that this concept of being too late is a rigid illusion of the mind. In Buddhist thought, the only time that actually exists is this exact present moment. The past is a fading ghost, and the future is an unformed shadow. When you grieve the time you think you have lost, you are attaching yourself to a ghost. You are letting a memory dictate your capacity for peace today. Buddhism reminds us that awakening, growth, and starting anew are not bound by calendars or the turning of years. Every single sunrise is a complete resetting of the universe. Imagine an ancient, dense forest that has stood in deep shade for decades. For years, a small seed lies buried under layers of heavy, dark earth, completely untouched by the light. It waits in the damp silence while other trees grow tall, while vines climb and flowers bloom and die in the sun. By human standards, this seed is drastically behind. It has missed its chance. But then, a massive storm sweeps through the forest, felling an old tree and opening a tiny patch of sunlight on the forest floor. In that exact moment, the seed does not look at the towering giants around it and think, "It is too late for me." It simply feels the warmth of the sun and it begins to grow. The earth does not care how long the seed waited in the dark. It only cares that it is awake now. We often treat our own lives with far less grace than the earth gives a simple seed. You feel you are too old to change your path. You feel it is too late to find a deep, quiet peace. You see others who started their art, their families, or their personal growth 10 years before you did, and you convince yourself the gap is impossible to close. You carry the weight of perceived lost time like heavy stones in your pockets, making every step forward feel exhausting. Ask yourself, who wrote the rulebook that says your story must peak early? What if the years you spent wandering were not wasted time, but the exact preparation your soil needed? Are you punishing yourself for not blooming in a season that was always meant for your resting? Pause. Breathe. Release the ghost of the past. When the heavy thought of being too late enters your mind, greet it gently, but do not invite it to stay. Stop counting the years you think you have lost, and start honoring the breath you have right now. Give yourself permission to begin exactly where you are, with no apologies for the delay, because time is not a fading resource you must frantically hoard. It is simply the space in which you are allowed to exist. But simply knowing this is not enough if you are still trapped by the invisible expectations of the world. And this is where the next truth begins. 4. Releasing the artificial timeline. What if the finish line you are so desperately trying to cross was never actually drawn by you? Here is a truth that causes endless exhaustion. We live our lives chained to a schedule we did not create. You are told that by a certain point, you must have the impressive job title, the perfect relationship, and the 3-bedroom house. You watch others seamlessly hit these milestones. You see former colleagues climbing the corporate ladder, projecting an image of flawless financial stability, and when your own reality does not perfectly match this aggressively marketed timeline, you feel a deep, suffocating sense of failure. You feel like you are falling behind in a race you must win. But Buddhist wisdom teaches us that this timeline is entirely an illusion. It is a man-made construction, a collective agreement that has nothing to do with the natural rhythm of your own life. Buddhism reminds us that clinging to these external expectations is a profound source of suffering. The more tightly you grasp the timeline, the more you hurt yourself. You are causing your own pain by judging your present moment against a script written by a society that does not know your heart. Imagine a bird trapped inside an open cage. The metal door has been left wide open. The sky outside is vast, clear, and perfectly quiet. But the bird refuses to fly. It has been conditioned to believe that the iron bars are the only reality, that it must sit on the exact same perch, day after day, because that is what it was taught to do. It looks at the endless open sky and feels terrified. It chooses the painful restriction of the cage simply because the cage is familiar. You are that bird, and the artificial timeline is your cage. You stay up late worrying about your career, your perceived lack of progress, and the pressure to build a perfectly managed life. You exhaust your energy managing the endless campaigns of daily survival, terrified of falling out of step with your peers. You see someone else achieve a major milestone, completely forgetting that every visible success comes with its own heavy maintenance, hidden costs, and profound pressures. You are sacrificing your peace to win a game that has no real prize. Ask yourself, who gave you the map you are trying so hard to follow? Are the milestones you are chasing truly yours, or are they just echoes of what you were told you should want? What are you afraid will happen if you simply walk out of the open door? Pause, breathe, observe the heavy expectations you are carrying. Let the feeling of being behind rise in your chest without making it your absolute truth. Stop trying to force the door open when you are already standing outside. Do your part, then release the outcome. You do not have to follow a script that brings you only anxiety, because true freedom is not found by finally catching up to the crowd. It is found by realizing you never had to run their race at all. But stepping off the track leaves a terrifying silence. When you stop running, you are forced to face the quietness of your own life. And this is where the next truth begins. 5. The quiet power of your own pace. What if the speed you are moving right now is not a failure, but a deeply necessary protection? Here is the truth few people want to face. We are a world obsessed with speed. We celebrate those who arrive early, those who build rapidly, and those who seem to conquer life before they even have gray hair. Because of this loud celebration, you carry a quiet shame about your own slowness. You look at the years it has taken you just to heal, to find your footing, or to simply figure out what you do not want. You see others sprinting ahead, and your instinct is to panic. You try to force yourself to run faster. You try to sprint through your own exhaustion just to prove that you are not being completely left behind. But forcing yourself to run someone else's pace will eventually break you. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that true harmony comes from honoring the natural rhythm of things. In Buddhist thought, there is no virtue in aggressive speed if it destroys your inner peace. The universe does not reward the frantic mind. It honors the mindful present step. When you try to rush your own path, you are fighting against the reality of this exact moment. You are trying to force a blossom before the root is strong enough to support it. Imagine a small wooden boat moving through rough water. The sky is dark, and the waves are unpredictable and fierce. If the person steering the boat panics and tries to force the engine to full speed, desperate to reach the shore as quickly as possible, the boat will aggressively slam against the deep water. The extreme pressure will crack the hull. The sheer force of trying to go too fast will destroy the vessel before it ever reaches safety. But if the person slows down, breathes, and matches the rhythm of the crashing waves, the boat will gently rise and fall. It will take much longer to cross the rough water. The journey will be incredibly slow, but the boat will arrive entirely whole. Think about your own life. You are navigating the immense pressures of modern existence. You are trying to survive the rough waters of heavy workloads, the endless comparisons on your screen, and the quiet loneliness of feeling misunderstood. And yet, you are deeply angry at yourself for not crossing this ocean fast enough. You are punishing yourself for needing rest. You are breaking your own hull because you are terrified someone else is reaching the shore before you. But what if your slowness is exactly what is keeping you intact? What if the quiet, unhurried pace of your life is the very reason you are surviving this storm? Ask yourself, where are you rushing only because you are afraid of being seen as slow? What piece of your peace are you destroying simply because you are trying to force your life to move faster than it is ready to go? Is this frantic speed bringing you closer to happiness, or is it only making you more exhausted? Pause. Breathe. Stop fighting the rhythm of your own waters. Observe the panic when it tells you to rush, but do not obey it. You do not have to chase a timeline that does not belong to you, and you do not have to sprint to catch what is naturally meant for you. Give yourself permission to move slowly, because moving slowly is not the same as being stuck. It is simply moving with intention. But embracing your own quiet pace brings a new challenge. When you stop rushing, you must confront the deep fear that an invisible life is a meaningless life. And this is where the next truth begins. 6. The illusion of loud success. What if the applause you are so desperately chasing is the exact thing keeping you deaf to your own peace? Here is a heavy truth about the modern world. We have been conditioned to believe that a meaningful life must be a loud life. You look around and see a culture that fiercely worships visibility. Success is only considered real if it is announced, validated, and endlessly praised by an audience. You watch others projecting grand achievements, commanding attention, and collecting endless approval. And in the silence of your own uncelebrated routine, you feel completely invisible. You begin to believe that because your life is quiet, because you are not standing on a visible stage, your existence lacks weight. You equate being unseen with being unworthy, carrying the inner pain of thinking you missed your chance at being important. But Buddhist wisdom teaches us a completely different reality. In Buddhist thought, the pursuit of loud, external validation is a deeply dangerous attachment. Praise and recognition are impermanent echoes. They rise rapidly and fade just as fast. When you attach your self-worth to the applause of the world, you are building your peace on shifting sand. Buddhism reminds us that the loudest lives are often the most fragile. True, unshakable peace is never found in the center of a chaotic crowd. It is found in quiet, unobserved presence. Imagine a night sky filled with massive, explosive fireworks. They scream into the air, burst into brilliant colors, and demand that everyone look up. For a few frantic seconds, they are the most important thing in the world. Everyone stops. Everyone stares. But then they vanish, leaving nothing behind but thin smoke and an even darker night. Now, imagine a single candle burning quietly in a small, closed room. The candle does not make a sound. It does not beg the entire city to stop and look at it. Yet, it steadily holds back the darkness, providing continuous warmth, safety, and light to everything near it. We often treat our lives as if we are failing simply because we are not fireworks. You scroll through the polished highlight reels of others. You see the explosive career leaps, the public declarations of victory, the loud accumulation of status. Then you look at your own quiet days. You do your honest work. You care for your family. You slowly try to heal your inner wounds. You build a simple, decent life. And you punish yourself because no one is clapping for your quiet survival. You feel the sharp sting of being left behind, believing that those who are loud are somehow more alive than you are. Ask yourself, what are you truly chasing when you crave that visibility? If you were guaranteed to have a life of profound peace and total contentment, but no one else would ever know about it, would you still want it? Are you trying to build a good life? Or are you just trying to build a life that looks impressive to people who do not truly know you? Pause. Breathe. Observe the desperate craving for validation without judging yourself for feeling it. Let the desire to be seen rise and fall away, just like the sound of distant fireworks. Do not let the silence of your everyday routine convince you that you are empty. Stop trying to set yourself on fire just to catch someone else's eye, because a quiet life is not a small life. It is simply a life that does not need to scream to know it exists. But to truly accept this peace, you must learn to see the immense power hidden in the things the world ignores. And this is where the next truth begins. 7. Finding profound meaning in the ordinary. What if the extraordinary life you are desperately searching for is quietly hiding inside the exact days you are trying to rush through? Here is a quiet tragedy we rarely notice. We have been taught to fear the ordinary. You wake up, you do your daily work, you maintain your living space, and you go to sleep. Because these routine actions are not revolutionary, wealthy, or grand, you feel a deep, hollow ache. You feel like you are merely existing, not truly living. You look at the simple structure of your days and convince yourself that you have failed. You believe that because you missed your chance to build a spectacular life, you are now condemned to a boring one. You treat your daily life as a waiting room, hoping that someday your real, important life will finally begin. But Buddhist wisdom teaches us that peace is never found by escaping the ordinary. It is found by sinking deeply into it. The delusion of the modern mind is thinking that true meaning only exists on mountain peaks, in massive achievements, or in sudden moments of glory. Buddhism reminds us that the profound is always entirely present in the mundane. Walking across a room, drinking a glass of water, or simply feeling the air enter your lungs, these are not distractions from a meaningful life. They are the life itself. Imagine a vast, deep lake hidden in a quiet valley. At midnight, this lake does not try to rise up and touch the sky. It does not crash against the rocks trying to become a roaring ocean. It simply rests, perfectly still, in the quiet dark. And because it is so incredibly still, its surface becomes a flawless mirror. It perfectly reflects the massive, glowing moon and thousands of distant, brilliant stars. The lake holds the entire universe within it, not by trying to reach the sky, but by being profoundly, deeply present exactly where it is. We spend so much of our energy trying to be the roaring ocean. You fight your ordinary life. You feel resentful of your commute, your daily chores, your quiet evenings sitting alone. You feel you are destined for something louder, something that proves you did not start too late. And so, you miss the profound beauty of the life you are actually holding. You fail to see the quiet dignity in simply taking care of yourself. You miss the grace in a warm room, the comfort of a familiar routine, and the steady, miraculous beating of your own heart. By constantly searching the horizon for a grander life, you are walking right past the profound miracle that you are alive right now. Ask yourself, what if there is absolutely nothing wrong with a simple, uncelebrated life? What if the ordinary moments you are trying so hard to escape are the exact places where your true peace is waiting? Are you missing the beauty of today because you are still grieving a fantasy of yesterday? Pause, breathe. Bring your attention to the simplest thing around you right now. The warmth of your hands, the solid ground beneath your feet. Observe this simple moment without asking it to be anything more than what it is. Let the ordinary be enough, because a deeply meaningful life is not one that has outrun the ordinary. It is one that has finally stopped fighting it. But to fully embrace this quiet reality, you must make a final, powerful choice about who you are going to be from this moment forward. And this is where the final truth begins. 8. Stepping off the track to find your peace. What if the greatest act of self-respect is simply deciding that the race is over? We began this journey looking at the deep, agonizing pain of feeling left behind. You have carried the heavy, exhausting weight of that invisible clock for so long. You have punished yourself for the years you spent wandering, for the mistakes you made, and for the times you had to start over from nothing. You looked at the loud, visible milestones of everyone around you and convinced yourself that you missed the train. You believed that because someone else started earlier, your own time had run out, and that your quiet life was somehow broken. But Buddhist wisdom teaches us that suffering ends the exact moment we stop arguing with reality. The pain you feel is not because your life is empty. The pain is there because you are fiercely holding on to a rigid, imaginary picture of what your life was supposed to be by now. In Buddhist thought, true liberation is found in non-attachment. This does not mean you stop caring or stop growing. It means you stop demanding that life follow a script written by a world that does not know your soul. When you finally release the aggressive timeline of society, a strange and beautiful silence fills the space where your anxiety used to live. Imagine a runner sprinting on a massive circular track. They have been running for years, desperately trying to catch up to the people ahead of them. They are completely exhausted. Their lungs are burning, their legs are heavy, and their eyes are fixed only on the backs of those they are chasing. They believe the only way to find peace is to finally cross a finish line that keeps moving further and further away. But suddenly, they realize a profound truth. The track is an illusion. There is no finish line. So, they do something radical. They stop. They step off the hard, marked rubber track and walk out into the cool, unmapped grass. The race continues without them. The other runners keep sprinting, chasing the loud applause of the crowd. But the person standing in the quiet grass is no longer tired. The crowd may not cheer for them anymore, but they no longer need the noise. They have found something infinitely better than winning. They have found freedom. This is the beautiful invitation of a quiet life. You do not have to keep running. You can step off the track right now. You can look at the people sprinting past you, the ones who started earlier and moved faster. And you can bless their journey, knowing you no longer have to match their speed. The fact that someone else achieved a loud milestone does not invalidate your deeply personal path. A quiet life, a life built on slow mornings, honest work, small kindnesses, and inner stillness, is not a consolation prize for those who missed out. It is a profound, beautiful achievement. Think about that. You are not behind. You are exactly where you are supposed to be. Every delay, every detour, and every quiet, uncelebrated year was necessary to build the deep roots you have today. Pause. Breathe. Drop the heavy stones of comparison from your pockets. Forgive yourself for not knowing earlier what you know now. Stop waiting for a loud, grand arrival and start living inside the quiet, beautiful, ordinary days you have been given, because a profoundly meaningful life does not require an audience. It only requires your presence. If these lessons touched your heart, share this video with someone who may need a little more peace today. You can let go now.